So the podcast is Gangsta and Gandhi podcast, right? And you were saying gangster with an A?
Definitely. No E.
Like, if you spell gangster with ER in it, you revoke your gangster card. You're not a gangster anymore. It's
Right.
like, if you spell gangster with an E and R, you're not a gangster.
No
It's
hard R's. No
it's,
hard R's at all.
it's with an A. All right, let's dive on in. So earlier today, me and you was rapping a bit, and you brought up this scripture. Would you read it for us?
Sure. Scripture is 1 Corinthians 3:11 through 15. I'm in a New King James Version, but it says, "For no other foundation can anyone lay than that which is laid, which is Jesus Christ. Now, if anyone builds on this foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, straw, each one's work will become clear, for the day will declare it, because it will be revealed by fire, and the fire will test each one's work of what sort it is. If anyone's work which he has built on it endures, he will receive a reward. If anyone's work is burned, he will suffer loss, but he himself will be saved. Yes, so as through fire."
My bad. Can you do that last little part, like the last two sentences?
Each one's work will become clear, for the day will declare it, because it will be revealed by fire, and the fire tests each one's work of what sort it is. If anyone's work which he has built on it endures, he will receive a reward. If anyone's work is burned, he will suffer loss, but he himself will be saved, yet so as through fire.
Mm. And I know I mentioned to you what stood out to me, or what comes to me is the why do people do what they do? And so you can do a work, and externally it may look like a good work, but internally it's for your own selfish gain. You can give to someone, or you can I think of so many things. Like, okay, let's say if you give money, or you give to a church, charity, or whatever the case is, but you do it with the motive of, I want to be seen, I want to be looked at as a good person, I want to be glorified, I want to be praised. It's not necessarily because I want to support these people, or I want to help these people. It's the self-help, motive. And so that came to my mind, like, why do you do what you do? And why you're doing what you're doing may not be told to everybody, but nevertheless it's judged. And so that's what came to my mind. I think of that. I think of even how you treat people. Why are you being nice to somebody? Are you doing it to get something out of it? Are you doing it as an opportunity? Are you doing it because that's your heart posture? That's how you get down. Like, without anything in return, you're nice. Without getting anything out of it, you're just a kind person. That's who you are. That's who you are behind closed doors. Why you do what you do and the motive behind what you're doing is it matters. It matters. And so that's what came to my mind when you read that.
I agree, and I'm sitting over here trying to pick out what to say because my mind is going in like 50 different directions.
Per usual. Per usual.
That's interesting because I remember one time we were talking, and you ended up bringing up the fact that two people can do the same thing and have different punishments as a result of it. And I think that even goes back to the heart posture and so forth. It depends on where your heart is and why you're doing something. That'll determine what your punishment is. And that's interesting too, because it makes me wonder, can two people put the same substance on the foundation, but it be labeled as something different because of their heart posture? So, maybe two people put what humans would consider hay, but that same hay is hay for one person and it's gold for another. And that's all because of the heart posture. So I wonder about that as well.
Whoa. I'm gonna need you to get a little deeper. Yeah, because that's a lot. I want you to dig a little deeper as to what exactly you mean by that. Like, two people, so they're both putting hay on a foundation, right?
Well, I would say more so what is considered hey for the individual. I even think about Cain and Abel. They come to mind.
Okay.
Technically those were different substances, but if you think about it, it was the same work. One person was giving their fruit, and then another person was giving their animals, and God judged it differently. But I think what we tend to look at is more so God's judgment as opposed to what was the heart posture before that. And so even with that, depending on the situation, two people can have the same offering, but it has a different definition, I guess you would say. It even goes back to I know we were talking earlier about the woman with the two mites.
Yep.
How she put in two mites, but two mites from a woman that only has two mites is different from a man that has 100 mites and gives two mites, because it's a different, a completely different situation. And so yeah.
It's interesting that you brought up the woman, because that's exactly what came to my mind. Like, not only how much are you giving depending on what you have, but also like why are you giving what you're giving?
Yeah.
What is the goal behind what you're doing? All that matters. All of that matters. And this is something that's really been on me these last couple of weeks. Like, there's this, and it's natural and normal. There's this genuine desire that we have to be accepted, to be seen, to be heard, to be known. And there's a healthy version of that and an unhealthy version.
Mm-hmm.
And so often when I do what I'm doing, I have to check myself, like, yo, why are you doing what you're doing? What is the goal here? Like, what is the motive? Why are you trying to be seen? And who are you trying to be seen by? And so when I think of, even though the mice and the example you gave, if you had 100 opposed to 2, it's like, who are you trying to be seen by? Like, and why are you trying to be seen?
Right.
I think that a lot of self-worth and importance is cultivated by the way that other people see you and treat you, and that is so dangerous, because outside of how anybody treats you, or outside of, and first of all, let me rewind it back. Yep, that's my rewinding back voice, um um uh how people treat you has nothing to do with you, and has everything to do with them. That's one thing I learned. Oftentimes we personalize how other people treat us and think that it has something to do with you. It has nothing, it has to do with them. So that's number one. Number two is, when people treat you a certain way, or how people see you, does not create value within you. You are
Mm-hmm.
valuable and you are worthy outside of anybody seeing your value and worth. And I think oftentimes we want to borrow other people's perception of us to
Mm.
give us our own. When one black person runs, everybody else start running. So I was gone. But I'm back now. We ain't gotta run. We're good. But gotta get back. Okay, I'm back. But yeah, I was saying that oftentimes, like, I forgot what I was saying because of that foolishness. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I gotta get myself back together. What was I saying again?
Actually, I'm over here thinking about what I'm about to say, so I don't remember.
Okay, let me go back to. But I was saying that we like to borrow other people's perception of us, and we like to borrow other people's worth of us, and it's like, that stuff is so. When we talk about a solid foundation, ain't nothing solid about that. That's straight up sand. And the and this is something that's really near and dear to home for me, because this is something, as you know, I've been working on this last year. Like, your worth and your value is dependent on the way you see yourself. Not the way your mama saw you, or your dad saw you, or sees you, or buddy off the block, or whatever that case is, or your boyfriend or girlfriend, or your husband or wife, whatever the case is. Your value is, first of all, you're worthy outside of how you see yourself, and now you just have to believe the fact that you are worthy. Period.
I agree. I even it makes me realize just how much we confuse validation with value. And I wonder if like any of that comes from just upbringing. Like we grow up understanding that if we do something right, we may get a reward. If we do something bad, we're going to get a punishment. But that's not your image though. Like that's a reaction to your behaviors. And I don't think we ever have a moment where we sit down and actually separate those responses from the actual actions that we make. And so we go through our lives living according to the responses of other people and derive our values from that. But like you were saying, that's a shaky foundation, because what if their perception of you changes? Like, does your value change with the way people are, with the way that someone's moods are, or everybody responds to things for different reasons. Like I know, I don't remember who said it, but I remember reading a quote along the lines of, when you encounter somebody, you're encountering different pieces of different people, different pieces of their day, different pieces of their experiences. And so when we personalize that as our value, we're left up to the hands of whoever we're encountering. And so we have to start with ourselves, otherwise we're always vulnerable. And I think that takes some time to actually dissect and actually destruct as it relates to our mind in the way that we think.
Oh, I'm about to go get a tattoo of everything you just said and put it on my back because it's long. So it gotta go on a real long space. So I'm gonna put it on my back. Uh, but seriously, what you're saying is so, man. It's for me. It always goes near and dear to my heart because um a lot of people aren't really them.
Yeah.
Oh, and what I mean by that is you're not living up to your true stuff because you're living up to other people's opinion of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we were to just toss that and just sit with yourself, and I think the one of the biggest ways my beginning of this was being aware of how I felt,
Mm-hmm.
and acknowledging myself in how I felt and giving myself space to feel how I felt and having that safe space to be that. And I think that, often we other people's opinions of us is what we're living up to. And it's heartbreaking because if you were to be you, then it would be over with. Like that. Man, I forgot. Someone said something. I was reading a book, and in the book, I think the book is titled "How to Heal," and and she stated your first purpose is to heal, and something along the lines like first purpose is to heal, to be your true self. Like, let's start there. We focus on career. We focus on external success. We focus on bank accounts and what we have, and thinking that would create value within us. But your first value and your first purpose is to heal and to, instead of trying to become. I say that often. Being is the difference is being is um living, being true to yourself and walking out that true self in this world. That's number one. Becoming is is a role. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be the best reporter of all time. I'm going to be the best, whatever basketball player. If you were to be, then the becoming would just come naturally.
That makes me think, who would we be if we weren't living up to everyone else's expectations or opinions? And I
You'd be
mean, granted, that's the positive end. If you weren't living up to like the positive, trying to get the positive affirmations and things of that nature, but that's also the negative end. If we weren't living by the fear of so and so might not like this, or this group of people may not be feeling this. It's kind of interesting too, because I think a lot of our fears are just another form of us looking for validation. But if we weren't living to survive, what would thriving look like for us? That would be a good. I think that's a good place to start and think about.
absolutely. And you brought up a valid point. I think often we we regard other people before regarding ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what would they think of this, or what would they think of me? What do you think about? I'm big on that when it comes down to my kids. When I do my daughter's hair, she's often like, "Mom, do you think they're gonna like my hair?" And I'm like, "Well, do you like it? Because if you like it, nothing else matters."
Exactly.
And it's this natural desire to belong, natural desire to be accepted, that we end up disregarding our own selves. Like, do you accept yourself? Like, do you acknowledge yourself? Are you happy with yourself? Because until that happens, everything else is for the birds.
Yeah. My bad. I gotta sit with that. I gotta sit with that.